Hello there everyone and welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, welcome. For today's episode, we will be having an unbiased review of my personal picks of top 20 evening gowns from the recently concluded 72nd Miss Universe preliminary competition. The preliminaries has been a parade of numerous spectacular evening gowns that it was a challenge for me to narrow down my selection to 20. I love this portion of the competition personally because it is the part where the candidates get to present themselves in an elegant manner, which is further emphasized with their choice of evening gowns. There were some pleasant surprises, especially from those countries who are not well known to be pageant-loving territories, that they still managed to pull up a good fight in the competition. This review will take focus on the overall aesthetics, specifically the silhouette and design, and maybe dab a little bit on the overall styling. We will also discuss specific details that needs to be done to further improve the gowns that I think is necessary based on my opinion. But before we talk about the top 20 gowns, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with the channel's future episodes. So in no particular order, we begin this review with Miss Chile. So Miss Chile stepped on stage and she's wearing a frosty white gown made by Vietnamese fashion house Minh Tuan Couture. These feature some linear embellishments and some see-through cutouts on the torso area that is well balanced with the presence of the front slit on the bottom half of the gown. I appreciate that what she wears suits her so well, from the fit down to the length, as it is very important for see-through gowns to have a good fit, otherwise the flaws will be very evident in the form of folds on the mesh part. There are a number of candidates who wore gowns with capes, but what I like about Miss Chile's version is that the cape fabric seemed to be similar to the gown, that it didn't seem like the cape is just an add-on or an afterthought because it is still cohesive with the gown. In addition to that, I also love the linear design, the silver crystals on the bodice and the gown, and also the fringes that added more drama in her presentation. Overall, I love this gown as she looks so fresh and flawless on stage. Miss Canada is also my favorite, and she's wearing this romantic red color for the competition that is designed by Mexican designer Fer Santos. This gown is fully crystallized and features gloves that seems to be a part of her gown, and it also has structured inverted ruffles from the chest area all the way to the back that is also covered with crystals. What I like about this look is that it gives me a fiery romantic vibe because the shade of red that she wore, but at the same time, its shade is not too aggressive as its nature being a see-through gown balances out everything. I also love the length as it is not too long and not too short. Also, the incorporation of the gloves is okay for me as it looks very cohesive with the look, which somehow made this look a little bit fashion forward while still carrying the essence of the typical pageant gown. All in all, I love it, and I love that she had a great styling overall in terms of hair and earrings. This is one of the best looks for me. Next we have Miss Myanmar, and she's wearing this gold and white evening gown for the competition. It features a solid metallic gold on the bodice and a see-through white skirt with white beaded fringes that cascades all throughout the skirt. Now, although it is quite common on photo shoots, but I love that Miss Myanmar made a risky move by taking this gown design to the pageant stage, and it seems to work well as her presentation was a standout for me. The gown reminded me of those goddess warrior with armors and soft fabrics combined, which can also represent strong and powerful women, which is also reflected on her presentation on stage. I also love the fact that she wore her hair straight because it was a perfect balance with her gown. Another favorite of mine is Miss Norway, and she's wearing a black see-through gown by design label Handmade Dresses Norway. This gown is covered with intricate curved-like beadwork and also features a ruffle design at the lower backside of the gown down to its train. So first off, the color really looks good on her as it really highlighted her face even more because I think of the color. And also the choice of undergarments I think is an excellent choice because it really complemented well with the design of the gown. However, I am not fully into the idea of the ruffled part of the gown as it seems to be a major disconnect to the majority of the gown design. So for me, it would have been better if the gown design is just cohesive all throughout. Aside from the ruffles, I think that it would have been more effective if she opted to wear a no-platform pair of black high heels in comparison to the nude heels that she wore. But nonetheless, I love what I see as it is a wise choice for her. It was very impactful and the gown is very beautiful. Also, a favorite of mine is Miss India, and she's wearing a sexy gown by Indian design duo Rohit Gandhi and Rahul Khanna. This gown features a color that I think is between navy and purple, which, by the way, is quite an unusual color for pageants. It also had a sexy cutout on the bodice and a see-through design from the waist down, in addition to the gloves that were all gem encrusted. It also features a cape-like soft fabric that's attached on the back of the gown. Okay, so first, I love how she utilized her cape and used it as a shawl in her presentation, which I think is such a clever move. I also admired the juxtaposition of the sexy cutout and the strong color because it complements very well with Miss India's powerful yet sexy personality on stage. So overall, I think Miss India gave a solid performance on top of her already impressive look. Another favorite of mine is Miss Ecuador, and she's wearing a fully see-through and fully encrusted gown by designer John Laxell. So this gown displays some intricate curve-like detailing in crystals and gold and silver beadwork. So I personally love this design because it is quite simple. It's just a column silhouette in a see-through fabric, but despite its simplicity, I think that this gown banked more on the design aspect in terms of its intricate beadwork and pointed neckline that seems to pop out of the gown. Her overall styling also topped off this amazing look to really highlight her beautiful face. So I love everything on this look overall because of the powerful simplicity and its very sexy factor without giving out too much effort. I really love it. So next we have Miss Australia who stepped out on stage wearing this skin tone mermaid gown by Australian couturier Alan Lecal that features crystal embellishments that distends from the bodice and gradually disperses towards the bottom of the gown. So first off, I love that the gown has a simple silhouette that it gives an opportunity for the spectators to admire her beauty. Also, I think that it should be noted that the overall fit of the gown, including the length, is just impeccable. And also the crystal detailing was tastefully done as it did not overpower the already impressive construction of the gown. But one thing that I would love to comment on is that I think that the train length is a little bit too much. That I think it would have been amazing if it is a little bit shorter, as the long train is giving me an impression of a bridal gown. Also, I think that it would have been nicer if there would be a little more of those crystal detailing around the knee area so that the dispersion of the embellishments would be more fluid towards the bottom of the gown. Overall, I think that this gown is a perfect choice as it exudes a youthful romantic aura, which is a nice compliment on Miss Australia's presentation in the competition. Also in my favorites list is Miss South Africa, and she walked on stage in this Willet Designs couture gown that predominantly features a gold fabric for the skirt and the shoulder part and the fully crystallized bodice, which collectively is inspired by the rich mineral landscape of the country, at the same time paying homage to her Indian heritage. So, this is a refreshing entry in a sea of crystal-dominated evening gowns, as Miss South Africa's gown is predominantly in a gold fabric, which gives a great shiny effect. And I also would love to appreciate that she looks so glowing in this gown. However, I felt that the gold fabric seems a little bit on the bulky side, that I think it would have been better for this type of design that the gold fabric being used is a little bit softer than this. Also, I am not fully sold with the choice of footwear, that I think it would have worked well if she chose a color that is closest to her skin tone. Overall, I love this gown as it is a little bit different and fashion forward to be seen on a pageant setting. Okay, next we have Miss Bolivia, and she's wearing a striking pink gown by designer Galo Sanchez. It is covered entirely by S-shaped beadworks in different shades of pink as well as red and white. This design also features a collar which bears the same design element as the rest of the gown. Okay, so personally, I love this because this shade of pink looked great on her skin tone. At the same time, it looks vibrant on stage. The length of the gown is also a plus for me, as well as the see-through areas on the gown that was well executed. However, I think it would have been better if she didn't wear those gloves, because personally I think it is not necessary, and at the same time it looks like an add-on as it didn't have any of those design elements seen on her gown. Also, I would also love to see her in a pair of earrings that's a little bit smaller than what she wore, as I find the size to compete against the intricacy details on her collar. But in general, I think that this is a perfect combination of power and feminine energy, and the most important thing to take note here is that she looked amazing on stage. Next, we also have Miss Puerto Rico, and she's wearing a long-sleeve fully see-through gown covered with crystal embellishments that is designed by Puerto Rican designer Angel Guzman. I like the gown because it fitted well on her. At the same time, the embellishments complemented her so much that it seems like her skin is sparkling. So the gown's simplicity allowed for her face to be the main focus. At the same time, its see-through nature is just appropriate for her to showcase her amazing walk despite it not having a slit. So her overall styling is amazing and of course very flawless. And I love it. Next we have Miss Latvia, and she's wearing a striking gold evening gown made by designers Enzo and Eduardo Coy. This gown features a fully adorned, solid golden leaf motif made in various beads and crystals, predominantly in gold with little touches of silver. So what I love about this gown is that the design is very cohesive from the top down to the hemline. At the same time, I appreciate the floor-length beaded fringes on her arms for an added extra wow factor. And to add more drama to the gown, it is also fully adorned with tiny fringes for more effect on stage. So for me, this is a perfect choice for her as she looked amazing because of the color, the fit, and the design that made her look more amazing. So we also have Miss Mexico on my list, and she's wearing a deep red column gown by Farah Santos, who also designed Miss Canada's gown that we mentioned earlier. The gown is fully beaded with linear peekaboo cutouts all throughout. So, I love the cutouts as it is quite on the modern side. At the same time, I love the length and the fit as it gives her a clean presentation on stage. However, I am not particularly into the collar-like detail on her neck as I find it to be a little too thick, that maybe it would work if it was a little bit thinner. And what I noticed is that red gowns seem to be the go-to color for a lot of Mexican representatives for Miss Universe, and it seems to work since they were able to win two Miss Universe titles in a span of a decade. So who knows? Maybe Miss Mexico this year might do well down in the competition if this gown will bring her good luck. Next, we have Miss Guatemala, and she's wearing a fabulous fully beaded gown by Venezuelan designer Alejandro Fajardo. So this impressive gown features a long sleeve and turtleneck silhouette and is crafted entirely of bugle beads in the shades of blue and light green. Now, what I love about this design is that because the mesh paste blended well with her skin tone, it kind of seemed like the beadwork itself is the fabric and it created this shiny appearance. So it was very skillfully done, and I love that the gown from the knee down is designed to be fringes, which created a drama every time she walks. So this is another impressive gown in the batch, and I must also say that the bright colors really looked well on her. Next we have Miss Paraguay, and she's wearing an iridescent looking evening gown by designer Marcelo Silvero. The gown features a symmetrical design and a high slit on the left leg and is fully encrusted with beadworks in the shades of silver, purple, and blue that give off this iridescent effect. This gown is an effective evening gown as it is made to be comfortably worn on the pageant stage. I also love the color personally because it is not typical for pageants. At the same time, the iridescent effect somehow took me to a different level of visual impact. I also adored the fact that she kept the rest of her look a little toned down by having a straight hair and less eye-disturbing pair of earrings. So, to me, everything is good except for the platform heels, which for me is a little bit on the chunky side. But maybe if she opted with heels with lesser to no platform height, I think her overall look would have been a little bit better for me. But nonetheless, I think that this look by Paraguay is also one of the solid looks for me in the competition. Another one that made into my favorites list is, of course, Miss Venezuela, and she worked the stage in this fabulous gown by Richard Ramirez Castro that features a waterfall of intricate silver details on the gown with hints of powder blue embellishments on the bodice. She also carried with her a huge feather cover-up for an added wow factor. So for me, this is definitely a wow presentation, especially that the gown has a very impressive fit on her that you can clearly appreciate her wonderful physique. The design was great and the length of the fringes is just right to create enough drama. I also love the fact that she dragged the cape for the rest of the time she was on stage so that it won't be a distraction to her incredible performance. Styling wise, it is very well put together and she looked very gorgeous in her gown. Well, overall, I love it, of course. Well, what can I say? Venezuela is Venezuela. Also in my favorites list is Miss Lebanon, and she's wearing a couture creation by Lebanese design label La Bourgeoisie. The gown is in a lighter beige color with a low neckline and high slit, intricately covered with amazing beadwork and a huge back skirt also covered in beads and sparkles. Well, although this type of gown has been pretty common in several pageants and in the fashion industry, I still think that Miss Lebanon looked great, also because of the fact that I think she's one of the few, if not the only one, who stepped out on stage wearing this type of gown, which also helped her to stand out. I also appreciate that we're seeing some couture red carpet worthy gowns on the stage of Miss Universe. It is dramatic because of its volume, but it didn't steal the spotlight from Miss Lebanon's goddess-like beauty. So her overall styling for me is an amazing sight to see. Next is Miss Curacao, who walked on stage wearing a blush pink gown designed by Venezuelan designer Nidal Nawayed. This gown displays a linear design that consists of silver, and variations of pink crystals that seem to gather towards the bodice. This gown has an asymmetrical shoulder design, a high slit on the right leg, and complementary see-through opera-length glove with three soft pink gradient fabrics attached to it. So I personally love the design of the gown because despite of it being asymmetrical, it seems to have a balanced weight on both sides. I also love the simplicity of the design. At the same time, the colors of the embellishments because you can still clearly see the details without it being too washed away or it being too far from the base color of the gown. But what I would love to change on this look is that I think it would have been better to ditch the glove completely and maybe opt for a one-sided cape with similar aesthetics to the entire gown. But all in all, I think this is a solid entry, and the gown effectively complemented Miss Curaçao's towering height and amazing skin. Next, we have Miss Thailand, and she's wearing a Valentier Atelier floor-length tulle gown with linear detailing for the most part of the gown, a high front slit, and accents of ornate decorations on the bodice. Personally, I love the simplicity of the gown as it made way for her face to be the main focus, at the same time her showmanship on stage. However, for me it was a downgrade compared to her gown that she wore on the national pageant, given that we were talking about the international setting at the moment. Also, I think it would have been better if the slit opening would be a little too narrow, as I find the slit now to be a little bit on the wider scale. I also think that majority of the details just got a little lost on her skin, that for me it would have worked better if the details are on the more vibrant golden tone similar to the embellishments on her national costume, as I think that color detail works great on her. Other than that, everything is great. The styling, the choice of heels and accessories, very polished. We have this fabulous floor-length column gown of Miss Philippines that was designed by Mark Baumgartner. The deep green gown displays a symmetric design, a turtleneck with interesting cutouts on the bodice, and is decked with crystals for the most part of the gown. This gown is just an amazing fresh approach for the competition, as it is very rare for contestants to step out of comfort zone and push for a gown that's very uncommon for pageants. The edginess of the gown really complemented with Miss Philippines' sleek look and edgy personality. Personally, I have nothing to change on the gown as it is already perfect on its own, and the sleek look of her hair also helped to further highlight the beauty of her face. Overall, this is an impressive entry, very out of the norm and very eye-catching. So this is definitely one of my favorites. Also on my list is Miss Nicaragua, and she walked on stage wearing this blue gown made by Jared Bermudez. It is an asymmetrical gown with one long sleeve and a high slit on the right side and beadwork of dark blue tones that explode into lighter tones towards the right side. This to me is another example of a pageant gown where it is made to specifically enhance the candidate's physical strengths, and in Miss Nicaragua's case, it was her face, her amazing body, and her impressive walk. This was made to work for her, and I love that this shade of blue looked very awesome on her. Her overall styling was impeccable, and she definitely is one of the candidates who gave a solid performance. So that's it. These are my top 20 picks of evening gowns in the 72nd Miss Universe preliminary competition. So if you have any of your favorites not included in my top picks, feel free to let me know at the comment section below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And until next episode, bye bye!